In the middle of truth or dare, my boyfriend's first love suddenly deliberately forfeited, smiled, and dropped a line. Last week. He still pinned me down on the bed. The whole room instantly fell silent, everyone turning their eyes on me in unison. And my boyfriend, David Smith, remained silent, neither explaining nor refuting. At that moment, I finally understood that some people aren't making a slip of the tongue. They're deliberately humiliating you. When it was my turn, I smiled, my voice not loud but clear enough. Don't look at me. Every single one of his good buddies has confessed to me. The 8 of them looked as if struck by lightning, lowering their heads in unison, ears turning red. My boyfriend's face turned from embarrassed to green with envy in just a second. Truth or dare. When the dice stopped rolling, the number pointed to Emily Brown. She is David's first love, and she was the person I least wanted to see at today's gathering. Someone egged her on, asking if she chose truth or dare. Emily covered her mouth and laughed, but her eyes were like hooks, directly landing on me over the crowd. She said, "I forfeit. I'll punish myself with a drink." After saying that, she picked up the glass on the table and drank it all in one gulp. The action was crisp and efficient. The lighting in the private room was a bit dim, shining on her face, giving her a pitiful beauty. David's several brothers began to cheer. The atmosphere heated up. Emily put down the glass, seeming unintentional yet premeditated. She sighed. Last week. He still pinned me down on the bed. One sentence. The entire private room's clamor instantly froze. Time seemed to have been paused. Everyone's gaze, in a flash, all focused on my face. Surprise, sympathy, waiting for the show. I became the center of the storm, and my boyfriend beside me, David, remained silent. He didn't look at me. He lowered his head, fingers unconsciously rubbing the edge of the glass. He didn't explain, nor did he refute. That kind of silence hurt more than any words. It was like a blunt knife repeatedly cutting into my heart. So some people really aren't making a slip of the tongue. They are deliberate. Deliberate. Wanting to humiliate you in front of everyone. Making you embarrassed. Making you feel ashamed. Emily was very satisfied with this effect. She even gave me a hypocritical smile. Sophia Johnson. Don't misunderstand. We were just playing around as friends. Friends. What kind of friends play around on the bed? No one around spoke. They were all waiting for my reaction. Waiting for me to cry. To make a scene. To question David. That way, this drama would be complete. My hand gripping the cup turned white at the knuckles from the force. But I didn't cry. I even smiled a little. The dice started rolling again. This time, it stopped in front of me. Michael Taylor, the birthday boy today, also David Smith's best brother, asked me cautiously, "Sis, truth or dare?" I picked up the wine on the table and, imitating Emily Brown's way, downed it in one gulp. The spicy liquid burned my throat, yet it made me incredibly clear-headed. I put down the cup, making a crisp sound. Everyone's gaze focused on me again. I looked around. David, Emily Brown, and his 7 so-called good buddies. 8 people in total. I laughed. Not loudly, but loud enough for everyone in the private room to hear clearly. Don't look at me. Every single one of his good buddies has confessed to me. As my words fell, the world went completely silent. If Emily's words were like dropping a pebble, then my words were like detonating a bomb. 8 men, who had just been laughing at me, were struck by the same lightning bolt. In unison, they lowered their heads. Under the lights, I could clearly see Michael's ears turning red. Ryan Davis' neck flushed red. Ethan Miller's face was almost buried in his chest. They didn't dare look at me. Even less did they dare look at David. I turned my head and looked at my dear boyfriend. David's face was as colorful as a palette, shifting from embarrassment to shock, to pale, and finally to a strange green in just 1 second. Sophia Johnson. You've had too much to drink. David finally spoke. His voice was dry and hoarse. with a hint of suppressed anger. He tried to grab my wrist. I dodged. I stood up, looking down at him from above. I haven't had too much, David. Imperfectly sober. My gaze swept over the group of men with lowered heads. If you don't believe me, ask them. Ask Michael. Last year when I argued with you, he waited for me downstairs all night, saying that as long as I nodded, he was always there. Michael Taylor's head sank even lower, his shoulders trembling slightly. Ask Ryan Davis. Last month at the company team building event, he cornered me in the hallway, saying you're not good enough for me. Ryan's hand clenched the corner of his shirt so tightly his knuckles turned white. And Ethan Miller. 2 weeks ago, he texted me, saying he wanted to watch a movie alone with me. Every time I mentioned a name, David Smith's face darkened a bit. By the end, his face couldn't even be called green. Anna Maria was a purplish shade mixed with humiliation and fury. Enough. He shot up from his seat, knocking over the glass in front of him. The sound of shattering glass was sharp and loud. He glared at me fiercely, eyes bloodshot. Have you had enough of this nonsense? I looked at him, finding it almost laughable. Was I the one causing a scene? When Emily Brown made that comment earlier, why didn't he say enough? He just stayed silent. He just let it happen, pushing all the awkwardness onto me alone. Now that the heat was on him, he called it a tantrum. Emily Brown stood up too, walking over to David and weakly tugging his arm. David, please don't be angry. Sophia Johnson didn't mean it. She's just hurting inside. She turned to me, wearing an innocent, kind expression. Sophia, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have made that joke. Blame me. Don't take it out on David and the brothers. What great acting. What a sweet phony. If I hadn't experienced it myself, I might have applauded her. I couldn't stand watching their performance any longer. I grabbed my bag. David, we're done, I said. Let's break up. After uttering those 3 words, the heavy stone in my chest vanished instantly. An overwhelming sense of relief washed over me. I turned and walked away. David rushed up and grabbed my arm from behind, his grip terrifyingly strong. Sophia, explain yourself today. What exactly do you mean? His voice held a hint of barely concealed panic. I yanked my arm free. I turned back and stared at him coldly. What do I mean? I mean, you and your so-called good brothers are all the same in my eyes. Equally hypocritical. Equally disgusting. I didn't care about his reaction anymore. I pulled open the private room door and walked out without looking back. The cold air from the hallway blew on my face. I took a deep breath. It felt like escaping from an oxygen-deprived cage. Behind me, the private room door was left open. I could hear David Smith's angry roar inside, and the sound of things being smashed. There was also Emily Brown's gentle consolation. David, don't be like this. Sophia Johnson was just saying something in the heat of the moment. I didn't stop. I walked straight to the elevator. My phone started vibrating frantically. David was calling. I hung up directly. He called again. I hung up again. After several repetitions, I simply turned off my phone. The world became quiet. Walking out of the karaoke bar's door, the night wind outside made me shiver. I called a ride-hailing service. I got in the car and gave the address. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Miss, did you have a breakup? I was stunned for a moment, then shook my head. No, it's a new beginning. Back home. I turned on all the lights. The empty room made me feel so at ease for the first time. This was my rented apartment, not David and my home. I took off my high heels and threw myself onto the sofa. Very tired. Not physically tired, but emotionally drained. I had been with David for 3 years. From university to work. I thought we could make it to the end. I had met his parents, and he had met my family. We were even planning to get married next year. Now, thinking back, it really seems like a joke. Emily Brown's existence was like a thorn deeply embedded in my heart. David always said that they were just in the past. Just ordinary friends. He told me to be more generous and not to overthink. I believed it. Or rather, I chose to believe. I believed every "I love you" he said. I believed every future he described. I ignored the hidden provocation in Emily's eyes when she looked at me. I ignored how she always called David away with one phone call during our dates. I had overlooked that in David Smith's social media feed, there was still a photo of him and Emily Brown from their student days. I deceived myself into thinking that was all in the past. Until today. Emily's words. David's silence. Like two resounding slaps. Hitting me hard in the face. Shattering all my illusions. It turns out it wasn't me overthinking. I was just too foolish. After turning on my phone, messages flooded in like a tide. Dozens of missed calls. All from David. In WhatsApp. There were hundreds of unread messages. There were David's, Michael Taylor's, Ryan Davis, and their 8-person brothers group chat had blown up. I opened David's chat window. At first, it was angry accusations. Sophia Johnson. What do you mean? Did you find it amusing to embarrass me in public? You made all that up, didn't you? Seeing that I didn't reply, his tone began to soften. Sophia, I was wrong. I shouldn't have stayed silent. I was just stunned at the time. Didn't know what to say. Emily was just talking nonsense. There's nothing between us. Could you go home first? Let's talk face to face. Finally, it turned into pleading. Sophia, I'm begging you. Answer my call. Our 3-year relationship can't end because of a joke. I love you. I really love you. Looking at those words, I felt completely calm inside. Even felt a bit like laughing. Joke. Pinning someone down on the bed. Is that a joke? Destroying another person's dignity. Is that a joke? I exited the chat with him. Opened Michael's. Sophia, I'm sorry. What happened tonight was my fault. I was just out of my mind at the time. Don't take it to heart. You and David should be fine. Don't fight because of us. I continued scrolling down. Ryan's. Sophia, I admit I've said some stupid things before, but I just admire you. No other meaning. David doesn't deserve you. That's true. But he treats you all right. Calm down. We're all brothers. Don't let it fall apart. Ethan's. Don't reply to David's messages. Don't answer his calls. He's acting crazy right now. Throwing a tantrum in the private room. When he calms down, I'll scold him for you. How interesting. An apology. A denial. And one still fanning the flames. This is what David Smith prided himself on as his good buddies. I took screenshots of each of those chat records. One by one. Then I compiled them and sent them to that 8-person group chat with his buddies. I didn't say a word. I just sent the screenshots. The group instantly fell silent. After about a minute, David Smith sent a message. He tagged everyone. Who the hell was the first to say it? Immediately after, he sent another one. This time directly to me. Sophia Johnson. You really did it. To break up. You didn't hesitate to destroy everything I have. You're really ruthless. I looked at his words, tapped lightly on the screen, and replied with one sentence. You were the one who destroyed me first. After sending it, I exited all group chats. I blocked David and all his buddies' contact info. The world became completely quiet. The next day, I woke up in the sunlight. No harassment. No messages. My phone was as quiet as a brick. I slept for 10 hours. It was the deepest and most peaceful sleep I'd had in the 3 years I was with David. I got up and made myself a hearty breakfast. Fried eggs, bacon, toast, and a cup of hot milk. I sat at the dining table, eating slowly. Sunlight streamed through the window, warming me up. Suddenly, I realized that feeling sad and upset over a group like that was absolutely not worth it. After finishing breakfast, I started cleaning the house. Everything related to David was packed into boxes. The couple mugs he gave me, the rug we bought together, a few pieces of clothing he left here, and a photo of us taken during our beach trip. In the photo, we were smiling sweetly. I looked at that photo for a long time. Then, I threw it into the box along with everything else. No matter how beautiful the past was. It's just the past. Memories tainted by betrayal and lies aren't worth holding on to. I called a local express delivery service and sent the big boxes directly to David's company. Collect on delivery. After doing all this, I felt the whole room become spacious and bright. The air felt much fresher too. I opened my laptop and started working. The resignation letter had been written long ago. Sitting in the drafts folder, David and I worked at the same company, in different departments. After breaking up, staying under the same roof would only add unnecessary awkwardness. I submitted my resignation letter to my direct supervisor and HR. Then I started organizing the handover files. I planned to leave this place as quickly as possible. Leave this city. Start my own new life. In the afternoon, the doorbell rang. I thought it was takeout. Looking out through the peephole, I saw David Smith's haggard face. He looked like he hadn't slept all night. Unshaven, with heavy dark circles under his eyes. He was wearing yesterday's clothes. All wrinkled. He looked disheveled and dejected. I didn't open the door. Sophia Johnson. Open the door. His voice came through the door, hoarse and strained. I know you're in there. I leaned against the door, saying nothing. Can we talk? Let's just clear everything up. His tone was almost pleading. This was completely different from how he angrily yelled at me on the phone yesterday. I still didn't speak. There was silence outside for a few seconds. Then, I heard his voice, choked with tears. Sophia. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I shouldn't have stayed silent. I shouldn't have let you face that alone. Please forgive me this time. Okay. Our 3-year relationship can't just end like this. He started recounting every little detail of our past. The scene of our first meeting. The first time he held my hand. The movies we stayed up late watching together. He tried to soften me with memories. Unfortunately, his plan backfired. These beautiful memories only made me feel more disgusted because they were all wrapped in lies. David. I finally spoke. My voice was cold as ice. Do you know what hurt me the most last night? He was stunned outside the door. It wasn't what Emily Brown said. Nor was it your friends confessing to me. It was your silence. In your heart. My dignity. Our 3-year relationship. Couldn't compare to your ridiculous pride. Couldn't compare to that ambiguous history between you and Emily Brown. So, you chose to sacrifice me. At that moment, I knew it was over between us. Every word I said was like a knife, precisely piercing his heart. Outside the door, there was the sound of his heavy breathing. After a long time, he spoke in a voice that was almost despairing. No. It's not. I was just panicked at that time. I didn't think that much. Another excuse like this. It's always panicked. Didn't think much. A grown man. Always using I don't know to evade responsibility. You leave. I said. I don't want to see you anymore. I'm not leaving. He suddenly got agitated and started banging on the door forcefully. Sophia Johnson. Open the door. Make things clear. Have you wanted to break up for a long time? Is that why you're making a big deal out of this? Do you have something going on with them? You see, this is him. When begging doesn't work, he starts attacking and slandering, trying to push all the blame onto me, to make himself seem less ugly. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anymore. Directly took out my phone and dialed the security guard's number. Hello. Building 3. Apartment 1202. Someone is harassing at the door. Please come up and handle it. After hanging up, I said to the outside, David Smith. I'm giving you 1 minute. If you don't leave, wait for the security to come up and escort you out. The banging sound outside stopped. I could hear his disbelieving gasps. He probably didn't expect that I would be so ruthless. 1 minute later, I heard his staggering footsteps leaving. I walked to the window. Pulled back a corner of the curtain. Saw him walking out of the building unit dejectedly, like a dog abandoned by its owner. I felt no softness, because I know this isn't the end. With his personality, he will come again, and I need to prepare a big surprise before his next appearance. Something that will make him completely give up. Never bother again. The security called to confirm that David had left the community. I thanked him and closed the curtain. The phone screen lit up. It was a friend request from an unfamiliar number. The verification message said, "I am Ethan Miller. Have something to tell you. About David and Emily Brown." Ethan Miller. That good friend who texted me yesterday saying he would help me curse out David. I clicked accept. I wanted to see what he had to say. Ethan's message came back almost instantly. Sophia Johnson. Are you okay? That bastard David Smith didn't do anything to you, did he? He put on a concerned look. I replied with one word. Speak. Over there. He was silent for a few seconds. Don't misunderstand. I don't mean anything else. I just can't stand how David treats you. Actually, the thing between him and Emily Brown is much more complicated than you know. I didn't reply, quietly waiting for him to continue. After you left last night, the rest of us had a fight. Michael Taylor and Ryan Davis think you're making a big deal out of nothing and ruining the brotherhood. I think David deserves it. Later, we parted ways unhappily, and I left with Emily. On the way, I coaxed some words out of her. Seeing this, I raised an eyebrow. Interesting. The speed at which he sold out his teammate really opened my eyes. She said she and David have been in contact recently. Last week wasn't anything like pinned on the bed. It was David going to her place to fix her plumbing. And she deliberately fell into David's arms. David didn't push her away at the time. Emily also showed me their chat records, saying David told her that being with you is tiring. He thinks you're too domineering. Not as gentle and considerate as she is. Ethan Miller sent a screenshot. It was the chat interface between David and Emily. David said, "It's still easier being with you. I don't have to think about anything." Emily replied, "That's because I understand you." The time was half a month ago. Looking at that screenshot, I felt no ripples in my heart. I even found it somewhat amusing. Me, domineering. If I weren't domineering, who would clean up the messes at his work? Who would handle his family's social obligations? Who would apologize and repay the money when he borrowed from friends and forgot to pay back? In the end, all my efforts only earned me being with you is tiring. And Emily's understanding him is just flirting with him while he has a girlfriend. Sabotaging his relationship. What a perfect match. That's not even the juiciest part. Ethan's message came again. Emily got drunk and slipped up. She said David had promised her long ago that he would break up with you within the year and then get back with her. Last night's truth or dare was completely prearranged by the two of them. It was just to find an opportunity to force you to initiate the breakup. That way, David wouldn't have to bear the blame for abandoning you. So that's how it is. It was a complete conspiracy from start to finish. A trap set up for me by the man I loved for 3 years and his first love. Joining forces. They had my personality all figured out. Knew I couldn't stand such public humiliation. Knew I would definitely leave on my own. What a clever move of feigning retreat to advance. What a devoted persona of unwavering affection. If I hadn't flipped the table last night and instead chose to cry and question him, then in everyone's eyes, I would have been that immature, ungenerous, unreasonable crazy woman. And he, David Smith, would have been the victim, heartbroken by his immature girlfriend, who finally had no choice but to let go. How ruthless. I took a deep breath, suppressing the churning cold in my heart. I said to Ethan Miller, "Why did you tell me all this?" Ethan Miller sent a bitter smile emoji. "I told you. I just can't stand it. Besides, I've disliked David for a long time. He always acts so high and mighty, like we all have to revolve around him. This time is perfect to bring him down." Sophia Johnson. Let's cooperate. I know a lot of dirt on him. And I'll help you deal with him together. Just say the word. His true colors finally showed. He wasn't some champion of justice. He was just an opportunist trying to seize the moment and rise up. He wanted to replace David and become the new center of that circle. And I was the most useful tool in his hand. I laughed. Cooperation isn't necessary. But still, thank you for the information. It's very useful. I replied. Ethan clearly didn't expect this reaction from me. Don't you hate him? Don't you want revenge? I can help you. I cut him off. That's my business. If you really want to bring him down, do it yourself. Don't think about using me. After saying that, I ignored any further messages from him. I recorded every word of that chat screenshot and how he and Emily Brown colluded to scheme against me in my memo. Then, I opened my chat window with David. From the block list, I unblocked him. I sent him a message. Let's meet tomorrow at noon. 12 o'clock. At the cafe downstairs from the company. We'll clear things up and settle this once and for all. Less than 10 seconds after sending the message, David replied. One word. Okay. He probably thought this was a signal that I'd softened and wanted to reconcile. I looked at that okay. Turned off my phone. David, Emily, and Ethan. I've seen enough of your performance. Now, it's my turn to take the stage. The next day, I arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early. I chose a seat by the window. The sunlight was perfect, allowing me to clearly see the people coming and going downstairs. I had put on a delicate makeup. I was wearing a newly bought red dress. I looked bright and composed. There was no despondency from heartbreak, nor resentment from betrayal. I wanted him to see that I was better off without him. At 11:59, David Smith's figure appeared at the cafe entrance. He had changed into clean clothes, and his hair was neatly styled. But he couldn't hide the exhaustion and haggardness on his face. He spotted me at a glance. A flicker of admiration flashed in his eyes, followed by complex emotions. He walked over and sat down opposite me. Sophia. You today. He seemed to want to say something but didn't know where to start. I interrupted him. David, I didn't ask you here today to reminisce. I just want to clarify some things face to face. My tone was calm, as if discussing the weather. David's expression stiffened slightly. He nodded. Ask. I looked into his eyes. When did you and Emily Brown start contacting each other again? David's eyes darted away. We just contacted each other as ordinary friends. It's nothing. Still lying. Seems like he won't admit it until he's faced with proof. I didn't expose him. I continued asking. Was it just ordinary friends fooling around when she pinned you on the bed last week? His face paled a bit. That was a misunderstanding. She was just drunk and playing around. Nothing happened between us. Really? He defended himself urgently, as if convincing me, and also convincing himself. I smiled. I took out my phone from my bag, opened that screenshot, and pushed it in front of him. What about this? Is this also a misunderstanding? It's still easier being with you. David, were you really tired when you were with me? When David saw that screenshot, his whole body froze. The color drained from his face instantly. His eyes widened. His lips trembled. And he couldn't utter a word. He probably couldn't figure out where I got that screenshot from. You. He looked up at me in disbelief. You're investigating me. I put away my phone and took a slow sip of coffee. I don't need to investigate you, because there's someone who wants to see you ruined more than I do. David Smith's mind obviously worked quickly. He thought of something, and his face grew even uglier. Is it Ethan Miller? He gritted his teeth, squeezing out the name. I neither admitted nor denied it. I just continued. David, do you know? That day of truth or dare wasn't an accident at all. It was a setup that you two had planned long ago. The purpose was to force me to break up. That way, you could run to your first love without any burden, and still play the role of the devoted lover. Am I right? With each word I said, David's face grew paler. By the end, he completely collapsed. Like a clay statue with its backbone removed. He hung his head, hands buried in his hair, shoulders trembling violently. Silence. Deathly silence. The cafe was playing soothing music, but now it seemed incredibly ironic. Why? I asked softly. We've been together for 3 years. If you didn't love me anymore, or if you fell in love with someone else, you could have just told me. I could have accepted a peaceful breakup. Why use this method? Why stab me in the heart again? David slowly raised his head. His eyes were red as if about to bleed. Tears mixed with regret and shame slid from the corners of his eyes. I'm sorry, he choked out. Sophia, I'm sorry. This was the first time I saw him cry, disheveled and pitiful. But in my heart, there was no sympathy. A belated apology is lighter than grass. At that moment, an uninvited guest appeared. Emily Brown. She was wearing a white dress, with makeup that made her look pitiful. Appearing at our table, David. Seeing David's state, she immediately frowned with heartache. Then, she turned to me, adopting an accusatory stance. Sophia Johnson, what do you really want? You've already hurt him so badly. Isn't that enough? Do you have to destroy him to be satisfied? I looked at her and suddenly found it ridiculous. This is the woman David chose to abandon me for. Stupid and malicious. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. I stood up and prepared to leave. David Smith suddenly grabbed my hand. Sophia Johnson, don't go. He looked up, like a drowning man clutching the last straw. Give me another chance. Okay. I've broken up with her. I've broken up with everyone. Let's start over. Emily Brown's face instantly turned pale. She probably didn't expect that David would say such things in front of her. I pulled my hand away, looking down at this man I once loved. David, do you know what's most pathetic about you? It's not your cowardice, nor your betrayal. It's that even now, you don't know where you went wrong. You don't love me. You're just used to my kindness toward you. You don't love Emily either. You just enjoy the novelty and superiority she brings you. The only person you love is yourself. After saying this, I stopped looking at him. I also stopped looking at the unsteady Emily beside me. I turned around and took steps. Step by step, I walked out of the coffee shop, into the sunlight outside. I didn't look back. Behind me, faintly came Emily's hysterical cries and David's desperate screams. But that had nothing to do with me anymore. My phone rang. It was a headhunter calling, telling me that a company in Shanghai had seen my resume and was very satisfied with me, hoping I could go for an interview next Monday. Why? I smiled a genuine smile into the phone. Okay, no problem. After hanging up, I looked up at the azure sky. The clouds were white. The wind was light. Everything was a new beginning. After leaving the coffee shop, I didn't go home directly. I walked aimlessly on the street for a long time. The sunlight was good. The wind was gentle too. The sycamore trees by the roadside, their leaves shimmering with golden light in the sun. I watched the passing vehicles and pedestrians. Everyone was in a hurry, busy with their own lives. And I, too, was finally going to start living for myself. Back home, I turned on some music, poured myself a glass of red wine. Then, I began my final tidying up. All traces belonging to this city, belonging to that past. I deleted all the photos in my phone. Not a single one left. On social media, I chose to block all updates from mutual friends. I didn't want to see any news related to them anymore. Then, I started packing my luggage. Winter clothes, summer dresses, my favorite books, the CDs I collected, those things that completely belonged to me. When I was halfway through packing, an unknown number sent me a text message. Sophia Johnson. I am Michael Taylor. I know nothing I say now is useful, but I still want to say sorry to you. That night, I was a jerk. I didn't mean to ruin your relationship with David Smith. I just I just felt resentful. I've known him for 10 years. I know what kind of person he is better than anyone. He doesn't deserve you. I wanted to say this 3 years ago, but I didn't have the courage. Now, seeing you two break up, I don't know whether to be sad or happy. I just hope that you can be well in the future. Find someone who truly knows how to cherish you. Finally, I say sorry again. I wish you a safe journey. I looked at this long text message. I didn't feel anything special inside. Not touched. Not angry. Like reading a stranger's story. Maybe Michael's apology had a bit of sincerity. Maybe he really had a little bit of liking for me. But none of that matters anymore. All of them, to me, are already in the past. They are rotten garbage that needs to be thrown into the trash. I didn't reply to him. I directly blocked the number. I didn't want to have any connection with anyone in that circle anymore. Whether it's apologies or blessings, I don't need them. The only thing I need is to make a clean break with the past. I booked a high-speed train ticket to Shanghai early the next morning. I didn't tell anyone. That night, I slept exceptionally soundly. The next morning, before dawn, I got up. I dragged 2 large suitcases and stood on the street of the city where I had lived for 3 years. The dawn light was faint. The air was chilly. I took one last look at this familiar city. There was no nostalgia in my heart, only relief. I hailed a car and went straight to the high-speed train station. Collecting the ticket. Security check. Waiting for the train. Everything proceeded smoothly. In my heart, there was an unprecedented calm and determination. I knew I was heading towards a brand new future. A future without David Smith. Without lies. Without betrayal. A future that belongs solely to me. Sophia Johnson. A fresh start. The announcement for boarding came over the loudspeaker. I stood up, pulled my suitcase, and merged into the crowd. I didn't look back. Step by step, I walked with unwavering resolve. Goodbye. My past. Hello. My new life. The high-speed train raced along the tracks. Outside the window, the scenery sped backward from the familiar skyscrapers of the city to the unfamiliar fields and villages of the countryside. My mood grew lighter and lighter with the rapid speed. 2 hours later, the train slowly pulled into Shanghai Hongqiao Station. When I stepped out of the station and breathed in the air of Shanghai, I sensed a completely different atmosphere. It was a mix of opportunities and challenges, hustle and energy. Everything here was full of unknowns, yet full of possibilities. I had booked a hotel near the interview company online in advance. After checking in, I didn't rest. Instead, I took out my laptop and began final preparations for the next day's interview. The company I was interviewing with was a well-known internet firm in the industry, and the position was for a senior product manager. This opportunity was something I had never dared to dream of before. David always said that girls don't need to push themselves so hard. Staying safe and steady was better than anything else. Under his influence, I almost gave up on my career aspirations. Looking back now, it seems ridiculous. If a man truly loves you, he'll support you in becoming the best version of yourself. Not use the excuse of it's for your own good to clip your wings. I carefully studied the company's product portfolio, analyzed its user base and market strategies, and drew on my past project experience to prepare several different contingency plans. I was thoroughly prepared because I knew this was the first battle of my new life, and I had to win and win decisively. The next day, I arrived at the company building half an hour early. It was a skyscraper towering in Lujiazui, its glass facade gleaming in the sunlight. Watching the elite professionals coming and going, each one walking briskly with determined eyes, a long-lost fighting spirit ignited in me. There were 3 interviewers, one from HR, one who would be my future department head, and one from the company's vice president. The setup was more formal than I had imagined. The interview process went very smoothly. The questions they asked were all within my preparation range, from past project experiences to views on industry trends. From the logic of product design to ideas on team management. I answered calmly and clearly. I could see appreciation and affirmation in their eyes, especially during the final QA session. I didn't ask about salary or benefits. Instead, I posed a question about the company's strategic layout for the next 3 years. This question made the vice president, who had barely spoken, finally look up and meet my eyes directly. His gaze was sharp, as if he could see right through a person. He didn't answer my question directly but countered. "What do you think we should do?" I didn't panic. I laid out the answer I'd thought through all night. Step by step. I covered a lot: market expansion into smaller cities, international growth, technological barriers, and ecosystem building. When I finished, the meeting room fell silent for half a minute. Then, the vice president smiled at me and said, "Sophia Johnson, you're the only one out of 10 people I interviewed today who gave me a pleasant surprise. Welcome aboard." That's how the interview ended. Walking out of the building, my steps felt light. I had succeeded. With my own abilities, I'd kicked off my new life perfectly. I strolled along the Huangpu River, gazing at the Bund on the opposite shore. The river breeze lifted my long hair. My phone rang. It was HR calling. She said, "Sophia, VP Lin asked me to inform you. Your salary will be 30% above your expectations. We hope you can start next Monday." Holding my phone, I watched the sparkling river water. Tears suddenly welled up in my eyes, not from sadness, but from joy, excitement, and pride in myself. I had finally become the person I wanted to be. My first week in Shanghai was busy and fulfilling. The onboarding process went smoothly. The company provided me with the latest computer and arranged the best workstation. My direct supervisor was Director Chen, the department head from the interview. She's a driven career woman, extremely demanding at work but fair and professional. I really enjoy working with someone like that. The work was straightforward and efficient. My colleagues were all very friendly. They came from all over the country, each an expert in their own field. By interacting with them, I learned something new every day. There was no office politics or workplace gossip here. Everyone focused on their own tasks and let their work speak for itself. This atmosphere made me feel incredibly comfortable and at ease. I quickly integrated into the new team and, thanks to my solid professional skills, earned everyone's respect. Once my job stabilized, I started tackling the housing issue. I didn't want to stay in a hotel forever. I needed a place that truly belonged to me, a spot where I could unwind and relax completely. Over the weekend, I checked out several apartments. In the end, I fell for a one-bedroom unit in the Jinggan district. The place wasn't big, but it was cozy and well-decorated, with a south-facing balcony filled with green plants. Sunlight streamed in from morning until dusk. I loved it almost at first sight. I signed the lease with the landlord on the spot. Although the rent was steep, costing nearly a third of my salary, I thought it was worth it. A girl should treat herself well. Moving day was sunny. I declined my colleagues' offers to help and, by myself, hired a moving truck to transport my few belongings from the hotel to my new home. When I unlocked the door and stepped into this space that was all my own, I finally felt grounded. I set my suitcase in the corner and didn't rush to unpack. Instead, I walked out to the balcony and sat down. Down below was a bustling street with heavy traffic, and in the distance stood towering skyscrapers piercing the sky. The city felt unfamiliar yet full of charm. I pulled out my phone to snap a picture and capture this beautiful moment. Just then, my mom called. I answered with a smile. "Mom, what's up?" But on the other end, her tone was hesitant. "Sophia Johnson, you and David Smith, are you having a conflict?" My heart sank. What I'd feared had finally happened. "We broke up," I said calmly. "Broke up?" Her voice rose a bit. "What happened?" "A couple of days ago, David called his mom, and she called me back. She said it was just a small misunderstanding. That David knows he was wrong. And he's been like a lost soul these past few days. He even called me himself, crying, saying he can't live without you. Sophia Johnson. What on earth happened? How can you break up just like that after 3 years together? I could hear the anxiety and worry in my mother's voice. David Smith's move was truly brilliant. He knew he couldn't get through to me anymore. So he started involving my parents, trying to emotionally blackmail me with family affection. Unfortunately, he still underestimated me. I took a deep breath and recounted everything that happened that night to my mother in the calmest, clearest tone possible. I didn't exaggerate or deliberately highlight my grievances. I was simply stating a fact about betrayal, deception, and humiliation. When I described how he and Emily Brown had teamed up to set a trap and force me to break up, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, my mother spoke with a trembling voice. This bastard. I knew she believed me. No mother in the world could tolerate her daughter being treated so disgracefully. Sophia, you did the right thing. We don't need this kind of man anymore. Breaking up was good. Breaking up was really good. My mother's tone shifted from worry to anger, and finally to tenderness. Child, you've been wronged. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Mom, I'm fine, I said with a smile, though my eyes felt a bit moist. I'm in Shanghai now. I've found a new job, and I've rented a new apartment. I'm doing really well. Truly. I told her the name of my new company and the address of my new home to reassure her. I've grown up and am capable of handling my own life. After hanging up, I gazed at the city lights outside the window, feeling a deep sense of peace. I opened the WeChat of David Smith's mother. We had added each other as friends before and had a good relationship. I composed a long message, clearly detailing everything David had done, including his conspiracy with Emily Brown and the true faces of his so-called good friends. I also attached the screenshot that Ethan Miller had sent me. At the end of the message, I wrote, Auntie, I once sincerely respected you as my future mother-in-law. David was someone I once wanted to entrust my life to. But now, it's all over. There's no possibility left between us. Please tell him not to bother me anymore. And not to disturb my family either. The relationship has run its course. Let's each live well. Wishing you and Uncle good health. After sending the message, I immediately deleted her as a friend. Then, I turned off my phone. I walked to the balcony and stretched out with a big yawn. The night breeze blew in, bringing a slight chill. But it made me feel incredibly clear-headed. The nightmare that had haunted me for 3 years finally came to a complete end at this moment. From now on, there would be no David Smith in my world, only myself, and this piece of brilliant starry sky that belongs to me. My life in Shanghai got back on track faster than I had imagined. The new job was very challenging. The team I was in was responsible for the iteration and innovation of a co-product of the company. Ms. Chen, my supervisor, gave me a great deal of trust and autonomy. She refined the strategic layout idea I proposed before joining into a special project. I was appointed as the project leader. This was unprecedented in the company. A newcomer, having just joined for a week, was independently responsible for an level project. The pressure was enormous, but it was accompanied by even greater motivation. I devoted almost all my time and energy to work. During the day, I had meetings with the team, conducted user research, and drew prototype diagrams. At night, I stayed alone in the company, researching competitors, analyzing data, and refining the plan. I was tired, but my heart was burning with passion. I could clearly feel that I was doing something valuable. I was creating. I was realizing myself. This feeling was something I had never experienced in that past relationship before. My world was small, so small that it could only contain David. His joys and sorrows were my everything. I gave up many opportunities for him. I smoothed out my edges for him. I thought that was love. Now I understand that it wasn't. That was just a self-imposed prison. True love is mutual achievement. Making each other better people. Not consumption. Not dragging down. A month later, my project proposal received unanimous approval at the company's executive review meeting. Mr. Lin, the vice president who interviewed me, made the decision on the spot. He gave me the best resources and the strongest technical support. He said, "Sophia Johnson, I wasn't wrong about you. This project, I believe you can make it happen." At that moment, I stood in the conference room, looking at the dazzling night view outside the window. I felt myself filled with strength all over. Life outside work was equally wonderful. With my first month's salary, I bought many things for my little home. A soft sofa, a comfortable carpet, a set of exquisite tableware, and a small oven. On weekends, I would turn off my phone, bake a sweet cake for myself, or curl up in the rattan chair on the balcony and read a book all day. Occasionally, I also have dinners and watch movies with my colleagues. They are all very interesting people. When I'm with them, I can always laugh heartily. No one asks about my past. No one cares about my relationship status. Here, I am just Sophia Johnson, a hardworking, serious living, independent individual. I have completely severed all ties with the past, changed my phone number, deleted my old social media accounts. Like a newborn baby, I greedily breathed the air of freedom. I thought the story between me and David Smith had completely turned the page. Until one day, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from my former colleague at my previous company, Ms. Zhang. She and I weren't in the same department. Not very close. But she's a good person. "Sophia, is it convenient for you to talk now?" Her tone was hesitant. "It's convenient. Ms. Zhang. What's up?" I'm resigning next week too. Before I leave, there are some things I think I should tell you. It's about David Smith. Hearing this name, my heart didn't stir at all. Like hearing a stranger's name. "Go ahead," I said. The other end of the phone was silent for a moment. Then, Ms. Zhang said in a tone that was hard to describe, "He was asked to resign by the company." Asked to resign. I was a bit surprised. With David's professional skills, though not top-notch, he was diligent. It shouldn't have come to being asked to resign. "Yes," Ms. Zhang sighed. "After you left, he became like a different person. He made frequent mistakes at work. Several projects had issues because of him. When the manager talked to him, he ignored them. All day, he's either spacing out or drinking." Later, some rumors started spreading in the company about what happened on the day you broke up with him. No one knows who spread it. There are several versions. Some say he cheated with his first love and publicly humiliated you. Some say his group of friends aren't good people either. Anyway, the rumors were very ugly. The company values its image highly. His behavior, it's too damaging. Last week, HR talked to him, gave him a graceful way out, asked him to resign on his own. I listened quietly, without speaking. All of this seemed unexpected, yet made perfect sense. A person's energy is limited. When he poured all his focus into emotional entanglements and self-condemnation, his work naturally plummeted. What's more, he personally destroyed what he valued most: his dignity and public persona. And Emily Brown, Ryan Davis continued. She didn't fare well either. That incident at the cafe later spread through the circle. They said she was a high-level manipulator, intentionally sabotaging others' relationships. She had wanted to join our company, interviewed several times, but got rejected at the last hurdle each time. I heard her reputation is ruined now, and she can't find a job. As for that group of his friends, Ryan paused, her tone laced with disdain. They've long since scattered. After you sent those screenshots to the group chat, they completely fell apart, accusing each other, shifting blame back and forth. The one called Ethan Miller, who tried to climb the social ladder by seizing the moment. ended up with his character flaws exposed and got isolated by everyone. Now, David Smith has no friends left around him. His parents rushed over from their hometown, and I heard they caused a huge uproar at home. His mother called you several times, and you didn't answer. Right, ma'am. Good. Ryan sighed in relief. Sophia Johnson. Sis. Let me add one more thing, this kind of man isn't worth it. The state he's in now is entirely his own doing. Don't you dare soften your heart. I know, I said softly. Thank you, Ryan, for telling me all this. It's nothing. Ryan chuckled. I just feel you deserved better. But now it's Gudiyov moved to Shanghai, started fresh. And I'm truly happy for you. If you ever get a chance to visit Shanghai, I'll treat you to a meal. Sure, it's a deal. After hanging up, I stood by the window, watching the bustling traffic below. My heart was calm, no thrill of revenge. Not a shred of sympathy. I only grew more certain of how right my decision to leave had been. A man who couldn't take responsibility for his actions. A partner who didn't understand respect or cherish what he had. A group of hypocritical, selfish friends with no moral boundaries. The world they created was a quagmire. Anyone who fell into it would be dragged down, consumed, and ultimately suffocated. And I, just luckily, crawled out before being completely devoured. Their downfall has nothing to do with me. It's their karma, the life they chose for themselves. As for my life, it's only just begun. I opened my phone and clicked on the dialog box between me and Ms. Chen. Ms. Chen. Regarding the user persona for Project B, I have some new ideas. Can I report to you tomorrow morning? My future is in the stars and the sea. In every project worth fighting for. Not in that pile of stinking mud. 3 months after joining the company, the project I was responsible for officially launched. The data exceeded everyone's expectations. On the first day of launch, user growth broke through 1 million. The next day, it topped the overall charts in the App Store. A week later, it won the most prestigious innovation award in the industry. The whole company was buzzing. At the celebration banquet, President Lin personally poured me a glass of wine. He said in front of all the executives, Sophia Johnson, you are not a surprise. You are our company's treasure. On behalf of the company, I announce that starting next month, you are officially promoted to product director. Your salary is doubled. Applause thundered. Colleagues congratulated me one after another, holding my wine glass. I looked at everyone's sincere smiles. In my heart, there was a full sense of achievement and happiness. I did it. I stood firm in this unfamiliar city through my own efforts. I proved my worth and earned the respect I deserved. After the celebration banquet, it was already very late. President Lin arranged for his driver to take several colleagues living nearby home, including me. The car stopped at the entrance of my residential complex. I thanked the driver and was about to get out when I inadvertently caught sight of a familiar yet unfamiliar figure. David Smith. He was standing at the entrance of the building unit, with his back to the streetlight. His shadow was stretched long. He had lost a lot of weight and looked very haggard. He was wearing a crumpled trench coat, his hair messy. He was holding a suitcase, like a statue waiting for his wife. He stood there quietly, looking at the building where I live. I don't know how long he had been standing there, nor do I know how he found this place. At that moment, there were no ripples in my heart, no surprise, no anger, not a trace of rekindled old feelings. I just felt it was troublesome, like walking on a clean road and suddenly stepping on a pile of dog poop. Disgusting and disappointing. I didn't get out of the car. I said to the driver, "Sir, could you please stop at the intersection ahead?" The driver was a bit puzzled but did as I said. I didn't want him to see me, nor did I want any interaction with him. I thought that would help me avoid him, but I underestimated his obsession. The next day at noon, I was eating in the company cafeteria when he suddenly appeared in front of me. I don't know how he managed it. But he had actually sneaked into our company. He looked even more disheveled than the night before, with bloodshot eyes and stubble covering his chin. When he saw me, it was as if he had found a lifeline. He rushed over in a few steps and grabbed my wrist. Sophia Johnson. His voice was hoarse, tinged with a frantic joy. Instantly, all eyes in the cafeteria turned to us. I frowned and tried to pull my hand back, but he only tightened his grip. Sophia, I finally found you. I've been searching for you forever. I quit my job back home and came to Shanghai to find you. Can we start over? I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. His voice was loud, almost a shout. The colleagues around us began whispering, and I felt countless probing, curious, and even slightly pitying gazes. What I hate most is the humiliation of being watched in public like this. And he had once again pushed me into that position. Let go, I said, my voice quiet but icy. David Smith. We're over. I won't listen. He shook his head stubbornly. I don't believe it. You still love me, don't you? You're just mad at me. Sophia, give me another chance. I swear I'll treat you right from now on. His emotions were intense, and his strength was overwhelming. I couldn't break free. Just as I was about to call security, a calm voice spoke beside me. Sir. It was Mr. Lin. I hadn't noticed when he arrived, but he was standing by our table with a tray. His expression was composed, but his eyes held an unyielding authority. This is the company cafeteria, not a place for physical altercations. Please release my employee immediately. David froze for a second, looking up at Mr. Lin. Perhaps Mr. Lin's presence was too commanding, because David instinctively loosened his hold. I immediately pulled my wrist back. A clear red mark had already formed. Who are you? David Smith asked warily. Mr. Lin did not answer him. He just looked at me, his tone softening a bit. Director Johnson. Are you okay? I shook my head. I'm fine. Mr. Lin. Then, I turned to David, with unprecedented calm. I looked at him. David, this is the last time, and the only time. I will make things clear with you. First, we have broken up, completely and utterly. Second, I am doing very well now, and my life does not need you. Third, and most importantly, I paused, speaking word by word. We have long been in different worlds. Please, from now on, do not disturb me again. This is not just for me, but also to preserve the last bit of dignity for yourself. After saying this, I no longer looked at him. I picked up my tray and said to Mr. Lin, Mr. Lin, let's eat somewhere else. It's too noisy here. Mr. Lin nodded. Together, we turned and left. I did not look back. I could feel that desperate, crumbling gaze behind me, but I did not pause for a single step. From the moment I walked out of that private karaoke room, from the moment I boarded that high-speed train to Shanghai, my life had already had no intersection with his. Everything about him, his regret, his pain, his future, none of it concerned me. My future lies ahead, in every sun-filled day, in every project worth challenging, in every better version of myself. The sunlight was just right. Mr. Lin and I ended up having lunch in his office. The noise of the cafeteria was shut out by the th. Solid wood door. His assistant quickly brought 2 exquisite set meals, 4 dishes and 1 soup, with a balance of meat and vegetables. The office was large, with a whole wall of floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking most of Shanghai's scenery. Mr. Lin pushed his lunch towards me. This one is specially ordered for you. No chili. He remembered I don't eat spicy food. It was during a team-building dinner once when I had mentioned it casually. I was a bit surprised but still thanked him. Thank you, Mr. Lin. We ate quietly. Neither brought up what had just happened, until near the end of the meal. Mr. Lin put down his chopsticks. He looked at me, his expression very serious. Sophia Johnson, For the first time. He did not call me Director Johnson. Was that guy your ex-boyfriend? I nodded and said, yes. Does the company need to step in to handle this? He asked. For example, send a cease and desist letter. Or increase security at your place. The company has partnered security firms and legal teams. These are minor matters. He was very thoughtful. He considered all possible follow-up troubles that might arise. This consideration wasn't from a boss perspective. It was more like a friend. I shook my head and smiled. No need. Mr. Lin, I believe this is the last time. He doesn't have the guts to come back. A person only clings on when they feel there's still hope. When I made it so clear. When he saw that we were worlds apart. His pitiful self-respect would make him back off on his own. Mr. Lin looked at me with a hint of admiration. Okay. If you need anything, just let me know anytime. Thank you. This matter was like a small stone thrown into a lake. It briefly stirred ripples, then quickly returned to calm. There were indeed some discussions in the company, but it was different from what I expected. No one thought it was embarrassing gossip. Instead, I became the strong female lead in many people's eyes. Sophia Johnson is so cool. She dismissed that jerk with just a few words. Yeah. That last line, "we're already worlds apart," was totally awesome. And did you see? Mr. Lin personally stepped in to protect her. What does that mean? It means our company truly values and protects talent. With leaders like this and colleagues like this, I feel super secure. I overheard a few young girls talking in the break room by accident. I didn't go in. I just stood outside the door, listening quietly. Then, I turned and left. In my heart, there was a warm feeling. A good environment can truly heal a person. In the afternoon, the head of HR came to my office personally. Sophia, regarding the incident at noon, we've handled it. Security has obtained his photo and will never let him in again. Also, we found out he sneaked in using a badge from a former employee. We've fixed that management loophole. We apologize for any trouble this caused you. I stood up and said, thank you for your hard work. This matter came to a perfect end here. David Smith became a mere footnote in my life. Input a vague, insignificant symbol. After work, I didn't head home directly. I went to a boxing gym, changed into sportswear, put on boxing gloves, punched the punching bag hard for a full hour. Sweat soaked through my clothes. My body was exhausted, but my spirit felt unprecedentedly relaxed. I wasn't venting. I was just reminding myself that what protects me is never others, but myself, my increasingly resilient inner strength, and these hands capable of throwing heavy punches. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye. Another month passed. The project I was responsible for entered the second phase of development. Work grew busier and more challenging. The team I led expanded from the initial 5 members to 15. I became a veritable product director. Every day was packed with meetings and reports. But I relished it. I loved this feeling of striving toward a common goal alongside a group of talented people. On Friday afternoon, we held a 4-hour brainstorming session. By the time the meeting wrapped up, the city lights were already glowing outside. Colleagues were worn out, gathering their things to head home. I rubbed my stiff neck and shut down my computer. As I stepped out of the office, I noticed the light was still on in Manager Lin's office. I walked over and knocked on the door. Manager Lin, still here. He looked up from a stack of documents, saw me, and smiled. About to leave. And you? Me too. Let's go together, I'll give you a lift. No need for the trouble. I can easily grab a cab. I politely declined. No trouble at all, he said, standing up and grabbing his coat. It's tough to get a taxi this time of night. With that, I couldn't refuse any longer. We entered the elevator together. In the confined space, just the two of us. The atmosphere felt subtly quiet. Is the project going smoothly? He asked first. Very smoothly, I replied. The team is meshing better now. And everyone's motivation is high. That's good, he said. Sophia Johnson. You're a born leader. The compliment came out of nowhere. I paused for a moment, then smiled. Manager Lin. You're too kind. Not at all. He gazed at my reflection in the elevator door and said, there's a very powerful energy field around you. Steadfast, focused, and utterly fearless. I didn't know how to respond. The elevator reached the underground garage. His car was a very understated black Volkswagen Phaeton, steady and unassuming. Just like him. He opened the passenger door for me. I got in and buckled my seatbelt. The car drove smoothly out of the garage, merging into the dazzling traffic of Shanghai. Inside, a soothing piece of classical music played. We chatted casually, drifting from work to life. Industry trends to recent movies. I realized he was incredibly knowledgeable and engaging, diving deep into any topic. Talking with him was a genuine pleasure. Why did you choose to become a product manager? He suddenly asked. I thought for a moment and replied. Because I love creating. I enjoy turning an idea or concept into something tangible that provides value to others. That process gives me a strong sense of accomplishment. He nodded in agreement. I used to be in tech, he said. Coding. Later. I realized I prefer interacting with people and thinking about a product's big picture strategy. So, I switched to management. We're like different paths leading to the same destination, I said with a smile. Yeah. The car quickly arrived at my apartment complex. I unbuckled my seatbelt and said, thank you, Mr. Lin. You're welcome. I got out, waved to him, and he looked back with a smile before starting the car and vanishing into the night. I stood there for a long time, staring in the direction he left, the cool night breeze on my face. Inside, a long-forgotten ripple stirred a strange feeling, not love, but an appreciation of meeting my match and a deep resonance like kindred spirits. Spring arrived again. The plane trees in Shanghai sprouted tender green buds, sunlight filtering through the branches to cast dappled patterns on the ground. My life was peaceful yet full of hope. At work, my team had become the company's ace, with our products dominating the domestic market and successfully breaking into overseas markets. I became the youngest core executive in the company. Mr. Lin has also been promoted from vice president to CEO of the company. We became the most compatible comrades in arms, fighting side by side. In my personal life, I used the savings I accumulated and the company's stock dividends to buy the house I currently live in, although I still have to pay a substantial loan every month. The moment I got the property deed, I felt I finally had a true place to call my own. Roots in this vast city. Over the weekend, my mom called me. We chatted about the recent situation at home. Just as the call was about to end, she suddenly mentioned in a casual tone, by the way, Sophia Johnson, I heard from your third aunt a couple of days ago. It's about that guy David Smith. He seems to have gotten married. My heart remained calm and unruffled. Oh, I responded flatly. I heard it was with someone named Emily Brown. That first love. A shotgun wedding. The ceremony was held in their hometown. Very simple, with only a few people invited. His parents were so angry they fell ill, feeling they couldn't bear the shame. He himself now seems to be working at a tiny company, completely worn out. Nothing like before. My mom rambled on, as if talking about some irrelevant neighborhood gossip. I listened quietly, without interrupting or commenting. Sophia. My mom's tone suddenly became cautious. You don't have any thoughts about this, do you? I laughed. Mom. What thoughts could I possibly have? I've almost forgotten what he even looks like. That's good. That's good. My mom sighed in relief. I was just afraid you might. Don't worry. I cut her off. I'm doing great. Better than ever. I've long thrown him, along with all those unhappy things, straight into the trash. The only thing Mom worries about now is your marriage. You see, that Mr. Lynn. Mom thinks he's quite a good match. The topic successfully shifted to her pressuring me to get married. I found it both funny and frustrating as I beat around the bush with her. After hanging up, I walked out to the balcony to water my plants. The warm sunlight shone on me. The news of David's marriage didn't stir the slightest ripple in my heart. I couldn't even be bothered to think about it. Whether he's doing well or happy has nothing to do with me anymore. We've long been people two different worlds. His life, whether it's a chaotic mess or just barely scraping by, is his own choice. But my world is bathed in sunshine, vibrant with blooming flowers. My phone vibrated softly. It was a text message. It was from Mr. Lynn. Not work-related. He sent a poster for an art exhibition. Below it was a note. The style of this painter is very similar to yours. Both minimalist but full of power. Are you free this weekend? Want to go see it together? I looked at the poster. Then I glanced out the window at the radiant spring scenery. My fingers tapped lightly on the screen. I replied with one word. Okay. I set down my phone. I leaned back in the rattan chair, closed my eyes, and the corners of my mouth lifted slightly without conscious thought. The breeze was gentle. The flowers were fragrant. The future stretched long ahead. Everything was perfectly arranged.